All right, Joe, we'll say good morning. Let us begin. We're going to hop in just a few moments of Tzidkas Hatzaddik before we go ahead and start the daf. Baruch Hashem, we have a lot to do today. So if you remember again, yesterday we started a really profound piece by the Rebbe. Tzaddik was teaching us in Os Tzadik Hey the concept of what he called Chatas Neurim, the sins of our youth. And he's referring over here, of course, to the indiscretions we all commit when we are young. And again, I will say it's very affirming, right? When you see Rav Tzaddik write about the fact that often in our youth, our taivas get the best of us. Sometimes we think it's only me, it's only me. But then you see the Rebbe writes about it, and he writes about it as a global condition, right? A global situation of the human condition, that everyone makes mistakes when they're young. Most of us make mistakes when we're older also. But what he's specifically referring to over here is, again, what he called Tzidkas Hatzaddik, the burning desires. And he was specifically talking about Hashchasas Zera. And he explained, we left off yesterday, that this was the sin of the Dar Hamabel. Now, we pick up on page Reish Chav Ches, and again, I apologize, we're not going to do this justice today, just at least to get in a few moments. So the Rebbe writes as follows, on page Reish Chav Ches, in the Be'urei Chasidus, the right-hand side. He says, Va'amnam, Koach HaNeurim, Gamkin Misagel Tov Harbe Mitzad HaYetzer HaTov, Hamevi Cheshek Tov Li Adam. So the Rebbe says something absolutely amazing. And he explains that the notion of youthful desire is not only something used in the negative, right? The concept of youthful desire also has positive ramifications as well. There's sometimes that koach that we have when we're young, and we're going to see what one of the things Reb Tzaddik deals with is how you define youth, right? In other words, what's the definition of young? But that koach that I have when I'm young also, ultimately again, maybe cheshek tovli adam. That energy, if channeled in the right way, could lead a person to accomplish incredible things. Get ready for this. Umisrabe mikocho chashkus l'divrei Torah. V'koach neurim zeh l'tov chaya la'anshe dor hamidbar. So look what Reb Tzaddik says. If we see, remember, he gave the example of chatos neurim, of misuse of youthful energy. Who was the paradigmatic example of that? Dor Hamabel. That was the generation of the flood. The generation of the flood, the dawn of humanity, the youth of humanity, had all of this energy, and unfortunately, they misused it. They abused it, and they misused it. But says Reb Tzaddik, but there's also an example of people taking youthful energy and using it for all the right things. Who's the example of that? Dor HaMidbar, the generation of the desert. Generation of the desert. I will say, how do you see them as a proper use of youthful energy? Shesiglu es koach neureim lischasheku liskarev laHashem yisbarchu lekabel toraso. Because remember again, what did the generation of the desert do? Just again, last week's parasha. What did they do? Now 7 Ishma. 2 things. First of all, 3 things. Number 1, they left Egypt. And when we left Egypt, we followed HaKadosh Baruch Hu where? Into the great unknown. In fact, he quotes over the pasuk from Yirmiyahu, Zacharti lach chesed nurayich, avas kilulosayich, lechtich acharai b'midbar. We followed HaKadosh Baruch Hu into the desert, the great unknown. If you think about it, by the way, it's reckless and irresponsible, right? Think about this. We followed the Ribbon Shalom into the desert. What did we have? Well, what were we armed with? Nothing. Matzah. Matzah, you had a box of matzah, right? That's what we had. What was the plan? No plan. What was going forward? No, we put all of our faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we do it again. We stand by Har Sinai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes with the Torah, and what do we say? We say, Na'aseh v'nishma. Na'aseh v'nishma. We'll do it. So says Reb Tzaddik something absolutely amazing. He says, at the end of the day, the Dar HaMidbar, with all of their mistakes, because right, often when we look at the generation of the desert, we're so focused on their shortcomings, but we forget Reb Tzaddik to see their good. They were the paradigmatic example of what it means to take youthful energy and to use it to its fullest in a positive fashion. So you have these 2 contrasts. The Dar HaMabel, the generation of the flood, represents a misuse of youthful energy, literally a wasting of youthful energy to the point where a person becomes nothing. And yet the Dor HaMidbar, the generation of the desert, represents the maximization of youthful energy to accomplish something great. And in fact, we'll have to, we're going to stop over here for today. I'm not doing this justice, but I will say, get ready for this. The Rebbe says that the Dar Hamidbar was a Gilgul of the Dar Hamabul. Right? Without getting into all of the Kabbalistic concepts of Gilgul, but sometimes the Neshamas come back into this world when they don't finish their job the first time around. The Dar Hamabul wasted their youthful energy. And so they came back a second time in the form of the Dar Hamidbar, and ultimately again, this time, they came back to get it right. This time they came back to take that youthful energy and to go ahead and maximize. I'll tell you something else, but this will really end. Rav Levi Yitzchak Berditcher brings down, he quotes in Parshas Noach, that the Zohar, that Moshe Rabbeinu was a Gilgul of Noach. Right? Noach's mistake the first time around was not advocating for his generation. And so that neshama comes back in the form of Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu's greatest koach was the koach of advocacy. The koach, the ability to advocate on behalf of his people, even when they didn't deserve advocacy. So also we'll stop over here for today. We're going to pick up with this on Monday. Again, I just wanted to chap in a few minutes. This is an incredible yisod. Because first of all, the notion of wasting youthful energy is a very important. So both in terms of how Reb Tzaddik introduced it in like an actual physical way, but also what it means for us on a practical level. Because I will say, sometimes one of the greatest forms of disappointment we live with is the notion that I did not maximize my youth. Or worse than that, I made grave mistakes in my youth. And we often think that we just have to live with that, and it's just like a sunk cost. It is what it is. Reb Tzaddik is going to show us it's not true. You could rehabilitate that. I could regain that. The same way that the Dar Hamidbar was the Gilgul, right, was the reincarnation of the Dar Hamabul, we could figure out ways to go ahead and reclaim our youthful energy as well, even when we are no longer in the youth of life. To be continued Monday. Hashem. Shkoyach.